In this video, I'm going to show you how to check all of your fluids on this Ford F-150. And just so you know, we are dealing with the 5.4 liter engine. So this will apply to the 2009 and 2010 model years because the rest of them will have a different engine. So let's get started. The first one I want to cover is the engine oil. On the driver's side, right next to the coolant overflow tank, you'll see that yellow dipstick. That is your engine oil dipstick. And when you measure this, you want to make sure you're on a flat, level surface. The engine has been off for a little bit, at least 10-15 minutes, so the oil can drain to the bottom to the oil pan, and you can get an accurate measurement. Having said that, remove the dipstick. And as you do that, wipe it off so that it's nice and clean. Otherwise, it will not give you an accurate reading right off the bat. With it cleaned up, this is what we're looking for right here. You can see these hash marks right on the end of the dipstick and the two holes. The two holes are the minimum and the maximum marks, basically. So you shouldn't really have any oil higher than this, or more oil than that, or any less oil than this mark. Anywhere here is perfectly acceptable, and that's where it should be. So now that it's cleaned off and you know what you're looking for, dip it back in all the way down and then pull it back out. Let's take a reading. You can see the oil on the dipstick right here is right below that full mark, so it's perfect. It looks like fresh oil too. So this is exactly what you're gonna wanna see. If it's too low, add some. Between low and full is usually about a quart. So estimate and add accordingly. If it's way over full, you're gonna have to drain some, of course. Now, let's reinstall the dipstick all the way down. And since we're in the area, let's check the coolant level. This right here is your overflow tank. It says it right on it, radiator coolant only. And that's where you would check the level with a cold engine. You want it to have sat for a couple hours, and you can check it when it's hot, but it will not be an accurate reading. It will most likely read a little bit higher than when it's cold. Right on the side of it right there, you can see it says cold fill range, and that's where you want the coolant to be. It looks like in this particular application, it is a little bit low, so you would want to add some until it gets to at least the low line or the lower line, and then you don't really want to be above this mark right here. Now, what you definitely do not want to do is open this radiator cap when the vehicle is hot. And really, you shouldn't need to open it even when it's cold, as long as you have coolant in the overflow. Continuing on the driver's side, right here, you can see your brake master cylinder. It sits right behind the coolant overflow tank, and it holds the brake fluid. This also has a minimum and a maximum line. Now, as your brakes wear out, your pads get thinner, and that space that is no longer there from the thicker pad material is made up by the brake fluid that pushes the caliper piston out a little bit more. So as your brakes wear out, if you are completely topped off with all 4 brand new brakes, it should slowly go down. Now, obviously, this is a little bit too low, so this may happen from someone bleeding the brakes and not adding fluid back in. So, of course, you're going to want to make sure you top that off all the way to the maximum line. I do know that this truck has all 4 brand new brakes, so I'm going to go ahead and top it off. Right on the cap here, it says that it takes .3 brake fluid, so do not use anything else. And top it off until it reaches the full mark. As you can see, this was quite low. All right, with this topped off, we should be all set. Always cap it off. It's important that this stays sealed up and does not collect any moisture. Brake fluid is hygroscopic, so it will absorb any moisture that's in the air. So when you do open this, be quick. Let's talk about the power steering fluid next, which is located in this reservoir that sits right near your radiator cap at the front of the engine. This also has a maximum and a minimum line. Now, as you can see, this one is a little bit over full actually, which sometimes can happen from someone adding too much power steering fluid, which, by the way, in this particular case, it's automatic transmission fluid. In order to fix this issue, I'm actually going to take a fluid extractor. In my case, really, it's just a turkey baster. And I'm going to suck some of the old fluid out, and I'm going to bring it down to the maximum line right about there. That's perfect. Once again, if you need to add some, add automatic transmission fluid until it reaches the maximum line. And of course, cap it off when you're done. Let's move over to the next largest component, and that would be your transmission. You'll notice that there's no transmission dipstick, which would typically be right in this area. However, for that, we need to go underneath the truck because the dipstick is actually on the transmission itself. It's a little tiny one. To check this, you'll want the truck on a flat level surface on the ground and preferably warmed up. So if you can drive it before, do that, and and then you want to leave it running in park. Just be very careful because the exhaust will be hot, of course, and unfortunately the location of the dipstick is right next to that exhaust. And to get the plug out that has the dipstick in it, you'll need a 19mm wrench. A socket is less likely to fit in there just because of the tight quarters, but once you break it free, you can remove it and you'll see a yellow dipstick underneath. You can then wipe that dipstick off and you can see the hash marks on it and the lines that indicate full and low. And of course you want to be within those lines, so take that yellow dipstick, dip it back in, make sure it's bottomed out all the way. And when you pull it back out, you can see where the level is. Put the dipstick back in, tighten up that plug, and you should be all set. The last fluid we're going to talk about is going to be the washer fluid located on the passenger side right behind your battery. You can see clearly says right on it, washer fluid only. I don't recommend running straight water for multiple reasons. One, even if you don't live in a climate that doesn't freeze, it's not going to clean very well. And two, if you live in a climate that freezes, it'll freeze. So use your preferred brand of washer fluid, put it right in here. It takes about a gallon if it's completely empty, and you should be all set. So there you have it. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to leave a like. And as always, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell so you can stay up to date with all of our latest content. Thanks for watching.